Hey guys, welcome to the fourth vlog. Recording and riding a bit more than usual. Just finding an excuse to ride. So, you're joining me in on a ride on a much more comfortable bike today. As you can see, it's a Duke, and this is actually Dina's bike. It's a Duke 200. It's a really zippy bike, and since we are riding along today on the Duke, we might as well talk about the Duke then. And we've had a video on how she thought about the bike, and I thought maybe you might want to hear from my side of the field, with a little bit more experience with motorcycles and riding, what I think about the bike. First off, we're heading to Ang Mo Kio Avenue 5, so I think we're taking CTE here. So, whoop, where's your headlight? So this bike is incredibly zippy. I would dare say, I think this bike is faster than any of the CBR and the any other class 2 bike on small roads like this, because you can really go balls out on it and not worry too much, because it's a very light bike, so the power not overwhelming, so you can really fully utilize the entire rev range. And yeah, it's so light and it brakes really well, and it's very nice, very easy to maneuver. So light, I don't say light how many times, but yeah, it's a really nice bike to zip around. In fact, I think it's a really good bike, because even for 2B, it's super fuel efficient. And speaking of fuel efficient, we are running on reserve soon, so Dina rarely rides this bike. I think so many close shaves today. Yeah, so this bike is really zippy. It's enough power for small roads. I think we won't turn to CTE first because I need to get fuel. And yeah, and it's so light and maneuverable, right? I can squeeze in between traffic much more easily and with more confidence. And throttle is light, the clutch is light. I know that can be fixed with clutch slaves and modifications on bigger bikes, but it's so easy to ride this bike on when you first get it. But I don't say the throttle is a bit choppy. It's very punchy, very choppy. It's a bit jerky in the corners, but I think it's not really a kind of bike that you would glide through a corner really quickly. It's more like when you enter the apex, is a V-shape way to approach the bend. So alrighty, let me get some fuel. So I personally think, because of the pandemic, you guys should get one of these SO cards, because you don't have to go in and make contact. I mean, you try to reduce the amount of contact you have with surfaces, and so you can just literally just step like that and collect your points at the same time. You don't never have to leave your bike or go into convenience store to make payment. So yeah, it's a win-win. It makes refueling a lot faster, especially when you are pressed for time. How does the gear change feel? Definitely, I think there's a big difference between having ridden the Ducati, Honda, and now this. Also ridden the X Motion. I think for lower end bikes like the 2B bikes, the gearbox can feel a bit clunky. I mean, it's due to the price point. It's definitely a lot cheaper than a bigger bike, but I think on the KTM, the gearbox feels clunky. relative to the other 2B Japanese bikes. So it's like the space between each shift when I go down from like 2 to 3, 1 to 5, whatever, you know, it's the clunk is more noticeable than the Japanese bikes. Alright, I gotta make a turn here. It's a bit sketchy, a bit dingy. I never really liked this new turn. I think traffic lights ought to make sense because many people are not used to roundabout riding or driving. But not in Malaysia, man. Everywhere is roundabouts. So the gearbox is a bit clunky, and you know, sometimes if you need to be a bit intentional when you shift, because the space between each shift is very much bigger. And so if you're not intentional, sometimes you can get in between gears. It's not very good for the bike, or it can be quite scary on the highway. And then while you're shifting in your clutch, and then you downshift because the gears and the crank and the wheel speed doesn't match, so you hear a loud clunk sound that can be quite unnerving for some riders, especially newer riders. Let me get up to speed here. Yeah, so 2B KTM was one of the first 2B manufacturers to have all these illuminated utility buttons on the bike. Previously, Japanese bikes, I think even now, a lot of Japanese bikes 2B bikes don't have these illuminated turn signals. And so I think it's a good thing, because sometimes it can be quite hard to, especially for new riders, to see the utility buttons at night. Look at this. Yeah, so it's a 2B bike. You gotta manage your expectations. It's rev matching. Rev matching helps, so I don't really need to engage the brakes. And the engine brake on this bike is one of the strongest engine brakes on any 2B bikes. You know, I tried the X Motion, I tried a couple of other 2B bikes, and this one to me still always takes the cake. The engine brake is always so much robust compared to the other bikes, which is good for traffic, for city riding. So you don't have to engage the brakes that much, but the caveat here is it's not good for taking corners. You don't want too strong of an engine brake when you take corners, because if you release the throttle a bit, you're gonna feel it dive, the front suspension is gonna dive, and yeah, the front suspension is gonna dive, and it's gonna upset the balance of the bike. And when you upset the balance of the bike and then the front fork dives, you're gonna add extra and weight on the front wheel, and you're gonna unbalance the bike. That's where, you know, unpleasant things can happen. So yeah, that's one thing. For street riding, engine braking is good. A lot of it, you know, sometimes it's good for helping you out of to get out of sticky situations. But for track, I think very strong engine braking, it really depends on your riding style. But I realized that for most people, very strong engine braking does more harm than good on the track. And now, having ridden my bigger bikes for some time and then now hopping onto the Duke, I realized there's some flat spots in the rev range. At certain RPMs there's not much acceleration, and then it picks it up again. Don't think it's the clutch, because the mileage is relatively new and we don't really abuse the bike. Yeah, so see you guys later. Works. Ew, it's shitting water. You see how before I even got to the next traffic light, I'm already on the 4th gear, man. Same for, it's not new to me, but I'm just saying that wait, let me adjust this down. That yeah, if you have to do it a lot on your daily commute just to get every traffic light, it just keeps changing gears. It's a bit leceh lah, you know. I'm just grumbling, nitpicking. I don't know about you guys, but I've been noticing a lot more traffic police patrolling the roads lately. A lot more. I don't know if there's an influx of new hires, new people joining the traffic police force, which I think is a good thing. More traffic police is good. You know, they're not always the most rigid people. Some might be led to believe. Actually, most of them are really nice, and especially towards bikers. I mean, if you are respectful to them. Yeah. So we're heading back during lunch hour. Traffic is gonna be heavy for sure. I am heading towards CTE City. Alrighty. This bike is actually really quite fun to ride. I forgot how fun it is to ride it. It lacks the power after the 4th gear, but still very punchy. See, it's still very punchy, you know. Like on Singapore roads, right, I wouldn't really miss the power of the CBR or anything. I think class 2 bike, it's alright, but once I join up the highway, now I'm like on the 6th gear, 5th gear now. Yeah, joining the highway, there's a lack of power lah. 4th gear powering up. Let me cut in front of this red car. Shifting. So I'm on 5th gear, I'm pretty much giving you the beans right now. The acceleration is not gonna make you giggle, but it gets the job done. To mention that it's quite glitchy at higher speeds. So the front of the light, you see I put in a bit of input to the handlebars and things start wobbling a bit. So it is because of the wheelbase, I think mostly attributed, because this is a very agile and nimble bike. So the wheelbase is very short to accommodate that, but at the expense of high speed stability. So if you have a shorter wheelbase, means your bike is shorter from front wheel to the back wheel, it's going to be very nimble. It's going to want to take the corners. It's going to want to fall into corners really quickly. But you are going to sacrifice high speed stability with a shorter wheelbase. But I think for a bike like this is fine, because the top speed isn't very high, and Singapore roads are not they don't accommodate for high speed riding. So I think it's fine. But you know, some physics and some consideration there. Yeah, sports bikes for 2B, they tend to do a bit better at high speed stability, but they are not very maneuverable at low speed in traffic. I like to in a scenario like this, instead of just riding out in 6th gear and letting it cruise, right, I like to ride out in 5th gear at least, and then move out to 6th gear only when the road is clear. Because on the 5th gear, if anything happens and I roll off the throttle and I apply the brake, I get a bit more assistance from engine brake. And I think that difference of a split second on whether you get extra engine braking assistance matters a lot, because half a second delay in braking could mean that your braking distance is increased by a few meters, and that could mean whether you hit a car or not. That could mean whether you could get out of a sticky situation or not as well. So Blue SG. Yeah, so engine braking, I personally would sacrifice a bit of, I would personally wouldn't mind slightly higher RPM, just so I can get a bit more engine braking support. Yeah, in case of anything happening, I would rather be able to evade and get out of that inconvenience than running in lower RPM and sort of saving a bit of fuel. Anyway, you won't save much fuel on a bike like this, a 2B bike. also, I think I'd like to bring another point that I think, having ridden the RC200 and now the Duke 200, having gone through the gears for a bit, right, I think the oh, this is what I mean. And yeah, so I think the RC200 gearing is a bit longer than the Duke. I mean, understandably, because it's a street bike, but you would think that it's running the same gearbox and same engine configuration. I didn't think they did much tuning difference with the bikes, seeing as how they are not very the power difference is still a small bike. The engine wouldn't produce that much power, but you would think, you know, so weird that the gearing is a bit shorter on the Duke. It feels like it. I might be wrong. Might be a placebo thing, but I'm saying it does feel a bit shorter than the RC. Like I hit 7,000-8,000 a lot faster. Okay, I'm definitely less sweaty now riding this bike for sure than I am riding the bigger bikes. The Duke is also surprisingly loud for a 2B bike. Stop. It's got that very I need to be careful with my words here. Personally, I don't like the sound. I don't like the sound of the RC or the Duke 200. Alright, anyway, see you guys on the next one. Bye.